What's happening, people? I'm DJ Graish, and in tonight's stream we're continuing with the series A Beginner's Guide to Making Liquid Drum and Bass. So let me know if you're there, let me know if you can hear me, and let me know if you can hear the music. Hope everyone's had a great week. This is a track that I was making in a different tutorial. This one was how to make orchestral drum and bass. So if you like the sound of this and you want to make something similar to this, check out the tutorial on my channel. And I want to big up a couple of people, E.E. Wilson and Aaron303. Thanks for joining, and thanks for letting me know about the mic levels. So, this is just a bit of an intro tune while we're waiting for more people to join. This has become a bit of a theme tune to the live stream. But how's your weekend been? Big up Tara Bass, thanks for joining. I'd say Tara Bass, Aaron and E.E. Wilson, you're becoming regulars on my live stream, so I really appreciate it. Big up you guys. Yes, big up Clive, and I have to give a special shout out to Clive because he is literally my top commenter, and I'd say he's commented on almost every one of my YouTube videos so far. So thanks for joining, Clive. Big up yourself. I really appreciate you being here. So we're just waiting for a few more people to get involved, and I want to shout out Manilin Sahagon, locked in from Barcelona. So Clive, where are you? Where are you tuning in from? Last week we had people from USA, Canada, Netherlands, UK and Barcelona. And probably loads of other places too. That's just the people in the chat. Right, I'm going to play this tune till the end, and when it finishes, we'll get started. Make sure you smash the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I've got new tutorials in the pipeline, and I've got another couple of fun videos coming too. And by the way, if you guys are all using Ableton Live, what version did you start off with? For me, I think I started on 8, then I went to 9, and then I skipped 10 and went straight to 11. And probably back in the day, in the mid-2000s, I did actually try Ableton back then, so that was probably like version 5 or something. Super old school. So Clive's saying 12 and FL Studio. So do you mean Ableton 12 and FL Studio? Yeah, I mean, I have never really tried. But each to their own, you know. A lot of people love FL Studio and it must be good software. But, you know, for me, I was saying on one of the other streams the other week that I started with Reason. And I used to love Reason, and I used to love the sort of rack setup of it, how you had this rack of equipment and you could flip it around and see the back of each unit, and then you could connect them all up with wires. It was funny, but at first when I saw Ableton and I saw that there's no wires and stuff, I was like, how do you even connect everything up? Then once it clicks and you just realize that everything just goes from left to right along this bottom row, then it all makes sense. And ever since then, obviously, it's just been Ableton. I don't really bother with any. I'm in this group with a singer, and he's also a great producer, and he uses Logic. And he's tried to convert me to Logic a couple of times. And he's like, you're on Mac, it makes sense. But to be honest with you, I just feel like if I've been using Ableton for over 15 years, then it doesn't really make sense to be trying to switch at this point. But anyway, big up everyone in the chat. Big up everyone who is lurking and not chatting. But anyway, here is the... If you guys saw a couple of weeks ago, I made the beginner's guide to liquid drum and bass, and we made this tune from scratch. So I'm just going to play it through once, and then we're going to start talking about the arrangement. And I'm just going to add a little bit of volume with the limiter. So this is what we made a couple of weeks ago. So this is what we've got. So straight away I'm starting to hear things that are wrong with it. So this episode is going to be about arrangement, but it's also going to be about a little bit about mixing and getting all your sounds to fit well together. So if it's sounding a bit sketch, bear with me because we're going to fix it today. Tara bass. You remember I was saying last time there was a bit of an issue with me auditioning vocals. Basically I went to like this folder of Ragga Jungle samples and started playing through them, and then I got an email from YouTube saying my stream will never be monetized. Not that my channel is even monetized yet anyway, but I'm almost there, you know. I'm in the YouTube partner program, but they want me to have 4,000 hours of watch time before I can start making any money. So I got this email saying that stream's never going to be monetized, and all the money would go to whoever that sample was. And it wasn't even something that I added to the tune. It was just when I was flicking through the different vocals. So I do agree that this would sound great with a female vocalist on, and maybe I'll recruit a friend of mine to sing on it. But in today's episode, I'm just going to talk to you about the arrangement. So you probably remember, for the guys that were here for the beginner's guide to liquid drum and bass, what we did is we started off with everything just as a looping around, and it was basically this piano. Where was it now? So I think it was this that we started with. And then I basically took the same MIDI and put it into this Rhodes. But this was without those two, without the sort of melody part on top of it. So it's just chords. So the piano and the Rhodes together sound like this. Yeah, you know, Tara Base is saying, why do we keep using YouTube? Well, to be honest with you, I do think that it's fair that that copyright holders get paid fairly, and it all works out quite well, you know. Like if I made a DNB mix now and I used 20 tunes from all different artists, they could get a few pennies every time that's paid. Sorry, every time that's played, they'll get paid. So it's all fair, but you know, it's just a bit annoying when all you did was just played like a little bit of a sample, didn't even use it in the tune, and now that stream will never be monetized. So you just have to be careful, you know. So what we've got here is a pad, and if you want to know how to make any of these things, just watch the other stream from a couple of weeks ago where I basically put in the chords for the piano and the Rhodes, and then I made the pad and I made it in the wavetable synth. Anyway, it was all just looping around, and then what we did was basically made it into a 16 bar section, and then we put that to bar 33, and then that gives you 32 bars of intro. And the amazing thing about modern day Ableton is if you zoom right out like this, and let me just put the grid onto 8-bar mode, look, you'll see that these 16 are a slightly darker grey, and these 16 are a slightly lighter grey. Then it goes dark, light, you know. So that gives you a very clear visual indication of how to structure your tune if you want to do it in standard, you know, 4/4 timing, and you know, most modern dance music does things in 16 bar sections like this. So since we've got the main drop happening at 33, well, bar 33, which gives us 32 bars of intro, that gives us 2 of these 16 bar sections. So what I did is, yes, by the way, Akash Rashid, this stream, as soon as I finish, it'll be there on the channel. So if you do miss any of it, or you can't stay till the end, don't worry about it. So what I did is, in the first 16, let's just break it down from the start. So the first 16, I've got this think break playing, and I've got a separate track for it called Intro Think Break, and I've put a auto filter on there. And then this red line represents the frequency. So watch what happens to the auto filter as I play it. You see the things moving up. Then as the red line goes down, it goes down again. And then it goes up again. So it follows that red line. And that's called automation. And we will be doing some more automation in today's episode. So if you don't fully understand it, don't worry, I'll explain it. All right. So that's the first 16. We've got the think break with this auto filter automated to move up and down with that red line. We've also got a crash. Let me just solo that so you can hear it. So that's what the crash sounds like. And then I also flipped it around so you got a reverse crash, and it sounds like this. And it takes a little second to come in. So that's a reverse crash, and that's an absolute classic thing to use in electronic music, especially drum and bass and stuff. When you are, you know, as I was saying, everything's in 16 bar sections. And if you want to sort of, sometimes you give signals to the listener. And if you want to signal to the listener that it's about to be the next 16 bar section, you can do it with a reverse crash. And you can also do it with other things like risers and stuff. And in a bit, I'm going to show you how to make risers. All right, so the next group I've got is bass, but because this is the intro, there's nothing in the bass group at all during the first 32 bars. So moving on to the next group, which is called instruments, what we've got is, we're starting off with intro pad, and it sounds like this. You can see that it's the wavetable synth. We've got the EQ8, which is taking out all of the low end and all of the high end and just leaving this band in the middle. We've also got delay, we've got auto pan, and we've got hybrid reverb. So all of those effects are on it, trying to make it sound bigger and more atmospheric. What else have we got? So 8 bars into it, we've got violin solo, and it sounds like this. And to be honest with you, that does sound quite dry, so we should put that on the to-do list of things to do during this arrangement. You know, put some stuff on the violin to make it sound less dry. And then 16 bars in, we've got that, you know, we've got the reverse crash indicating it's the next section. And then what is it? Intro piano. And all it is the piano again, but this one has this auto filter on it. And that's another thing that we could automate. So Clive's saying that the chord progression sounds like Love is a Battlefield by, what is it? Pat Benatar. I don't know the song, but I'll listen to it later and have a listen. And I don't doubt it, you know. This is just a quick chord progression that we came up with on the stream. But, so this section here, we've got the filtered piano. Is there anything else? If you open up the drum group, we have this drum kit here, and it's literally just playing this. Some very soft ride cymbals just going along. And then, sorry if I mispronounced his name, by the way, Pat. And then we've got that reversed crash. And then we go into the drop. Now I didn't notice it last time, but for me, the kick sounds very too bassy. And I did say in my how to mix down drum and bass tutorial that it's best to leave all the EQing and the compression till later. But sometimes it's just like you spot something and it's annoying you and you want to fix it in the moment. So let's go to the kick. Let's put the EQ8 on there, and I'm just going to bring it up full screen so you can see what's going on. Oops. Wait. Let's take it back to the drop. And what I really want is the kick to be hitting here at like 100 or a bit below, but all this stuff right down at the bottom end is too much. So with the first node of the EQ8, we're just going to put that onto a high pass. Roll it up. And let's listen with everything. And what I do is, whenever I do an EQ move like this, I like to turn on and off the EQ unit. And you can even try it like this with the steep curve. So what you want is like 90 or 100 hertz is the main frequency of the kick, but then all that boomy stuff lower is in the way of the sub bass. All right. And another thing that I noticed actually is, you know, last time we made the mid bass first and then we made the sub bass, right? But I don't know if you guys caught this, but when I was making the mid bass, I was sort of demonstrating to you that over here we've got this sub oscillator, and then I turned it on and I left it on. Now, obviously the sub oscillator is great and that, but I've made my own sub bass layer, so this isn't necessary. It's only a very subtle thing, but it just meant that we had double sub. And that was almost certainly causing some issues with the low end as well. It's going to be cleaner now. And let me know about the levels, as in like my voice compared to the track. Am I much louder or much quieter or about the same? So anyway, some of the things, I mean, Tara Bass is saying that he likes the dry violin, but one thing that we can do is, do a bit of trial and error, see if the violin sounds better with or without some reverb on it. Start with the EQ. You see, it's always good to have a look down here below 100 Hertz and specifically right down at the bottom. And can you see that? Just momentarily something pops up in the sub-bass region. So we don't want any sub-bass in our violin. So I'm going to roll it off, not necessarily at 200, it could be down here. You know, just as long as it basically doesn't even affect what the violin sounds like, it just makes sure there's no sub-bass in it. Thank you, Clive. So Clive's saying that the levels are good, so let's keep going. So that's just a little bit of clearing out any sub-bass that's in the violin, and then what I was going to do is maybe try either the normal reverb or the hybrid reverb. Sometimes it's good to chuck on the old school reverb, you know. So on the input filter, I know we've just already got rid of bass, but the input filter here also has a low cut and it's got a high cut. So what you can do is just make sure that's in approximately the right place where you want it. Sometimes it's good to just get rid of the high cut if you want the reverb to affect the top end, or you can turn that on so it just sort of affects. But bear in mind, look, the low cut is at 1.93 kilohertz, as in it's very high up. That's all the way up here, you know. So we're basically, the reverb is affecting this area up here, like the upper mids. So we don't want 55 on the wet and dry. We want probably something like 25. So let's have a listen like this. See, it didn't even really sound that different, but it's a very subtle thing. And I always say, you should be trying everything out in the mix and not soloed. So here's how the violin sounds with a bit of EQ and reverb with everything else. Another way you can do your reverb is on a send and return channel. So if I turn on this little R, I don't know if you can see that, but right down in the lower right corner, you've got these tiny little buttons that are black, and then you can turn them on by turning them yellow like this. And if you turn on the little R, that's for your return channels. And you've got reverb and delay. Now it looks like I've already called that room reverb, so if we go back there, yeah, you can see that there's actually already a room reverb set up, and I've sent a load of things to it, so that's something that I kind of forgot that I'd done. Maybe intro think break could be sent to the room reverb. So, talking about drops or build-ups to the drop, you know, there's various different things you can do before the drop. Sometimes you can do like a riser thing building up towards the drop. You can do what I've got here, which is the reverse crash. There's also this thing that's like the person who taught it to me called it acid wind. So how about if I show you how to make acid wind now? So basically what acid wind is, it requires white noise. So if I type in white noise and then go to the samples or production folder, and here we see that there is a load of white noise. Now, I think I'd better turn down the monitoring for a second because these are going to sound super harsh. So, you know, the harsh white noise is the best one. And look at that. When I dragged it in, it's just literally a block of audio. So before I play this, what I'm going to do is add a lot of different things to it and try and make it sound a bit more pleasant and a bit less harsh. So go to the audio effects. What I'm going to add is, first of all, I'm going to add an EQ8. I'm going to make sure that it's got absolutely no sub bass in it and all the rest of it. We're going to add some delay. And I'm not even going to play this until I've added a few more things to it. I'm going to add reverb. Actually, I'm going to put the delay on ping pong mode. And chorus. And I am also going to add, crucially, this is probably the most important one, the auto filter. I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to put it onto this sort of bandpass mode. Now, this filter frequency, and I was saying before, I'll explain to you more about automation. So, automation is basically making things turn themselves, making some of these controls turn themselves. For example, this filter frequency here, see how I'm moving it and the red line is going up and down. Now, what you can do is draw in the red line and it will move that control. And then you can do that with loads of different things within Ableton and make the controls move themselves. So for example, if we wanted this filter frequency to start off low and then move higher, we could draw the line in up like that, and then when I play it, it goes like this. Alright, so now that I've played it, I've just noticed that it's a bit too loud. One thing I can do is just turn down the actual clip here. Let's go to this gain and turn that down. Let's have another listen. So you can see why I put the EQ8 there, because you don't want this white noise sweep to have any bass in it at all. Start it from right here. Alright, and I'll turn the clip down even more because this is supposed to be a subtle background effect. Alright, so turn it down to -26. Also, you know, you want to drown it in effects. So I'm going to crank up the reverb. I'm going to crank up the chorus. I'm even going to crank up the delay. And maybe I'll put this on 2 like that. Alright, let's try one more time. In fact, you know what? I'm going to play the tune from the beginning so we can hear how this really sounds. And I'm going to stick it into the instruments group. And you know, I've got these groups, drums, bass, instruments. You could even have a group of effects if you want, where you just put all your little special effects. That's up to you if you prefer that way, if you think that's a more organised way of doing things. I like the way how that just goes to like just that tiny piano, you know. Alright, the white noise is sweeping. One thing I like to do is this. Check this out. Now I've noticed, you know, it's good to listen and sort of make mental notes. What I noticed is that I don't like the chorus. So we can either ditch the chorus or just turn the wet and dry down quite a bit. Something like that. And also, I was just going to show you, sometimes it's good to have this building up and then stopping right before the drop. So for example, we could do half a bar before the drop, and it goes like this. Maybe 1 bar would be better. Let's try again. I actually like it when the delay goes shp, 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 shp. So what would that be, 3 or 4? So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. See what I mean? In fact, let's go back to the automation of this filter. One thing you can do is just on that last little bit, just make it go up like that. All right, let's try again. All right, so actually, it's good, but I think I was right. 1 bar was better. And then that last bit goes up like that. Sometimes I think it's better to have either the reverse crash or the white noise sweep, and maybe not both. So let me just mute the reverse crash and see if I'm right. So what I'm doing now is definitely a bit of trial and error. Let's try that. What needs to happen is the piano needs to go away when this happens. So where's the piano? We've got this piano here. For example, and then you know how I'm trying to make the white noise go shp, 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 shp. So one thing I could do is stick a delay on the piano and make it do the same thing, and then it'll sort of emphasize it. So put it onto 4 mode. Now the little on-off button on the delay, you can automate that. So this is another style of automation. So you can, it's not just knobs or like rotary controls that you can automate. You can automate on-off buttons. So what we do is turn off the delay unit, then go to this little pencil tool in the top right and just draw in a bit like that. And that means that the delay unit is only on for this area here. So then the piano will have no delay on it until that moment. And then all I need to do is shorten the note down like this. You know what I mean? Any questions so far? Obviously, you can do the effect that I just showed you with the delay on the piano. You could have done that with sends and returns. So I could have just sent it to return track B, which has a delay on it, and done it that way. Yeah. Clive's saying it's the little details that make all the difference, and I totally agree. It's like, bit by bit, you just add these little flares and little tricks, and it turns it from sounding like a load of loops to an actual song, you know? Another thing I wanted to show you is like you may have noticed that when we drew in these MIDI notes, they all start and stop at the exact same time and right on the grid, you know. Whereas if you were a real piano player, then you would almost certainly press them at slightly different times. So one thing we could do is to try and mimic that. We could just hold down the command button and slightly drag some of these notes. For example, zoom in at the beginning, slightly drag the G sharp, a bit like that, and then the C a bit even more. And notice for the guys that have the latest Ableton Live 12.2, they've added this new thing where you can have your it's a MIDI effect where you can add a strum. Anyway, I'm on 11 and I'm doing it manually, so check this out. It's so subtle that you can't actually hear it. Let's try a little bit more. See what I mean? It's such a tiny thing that you might not think about, but it's going to end up making your tune sound more human. So let's do that for all the chords. One thing you need to do though is have a look at the end and make sure you're not going into the next one. So you see how there's a G and then in the next chord there's a G, right? So if I start moving this, it's going to do that. So what you need to do is just make sure you sort of shorten the end of the note a little bit before you start messing with it, like that. Now this is a tedious process, having to go through them all, and it's something I probably should have done at the beginning when I was putting these chords in. But you live and you learn, you know, so just dragging some of them a little bit later to simulate this pianist having a bit of swing in their step. Right, let's have a listen. Know what I mean? That sounds, to me, that sounds more human. So what I'm going to do is just copy and paste that, or duplicate it. 1, 2, 3. Get rid of that last little bit. And what I could do is put this with the Rhodes as well, but let's have a listen. I'll leave the Rhodes as it is. Alright, so the piano has been humanized. And what we can do is, you probably noticed that there was another piano track, but this one was the intro piano. But I'm going to also copy those MIDI clips and paste them onto the intro piano as well, like this. So now the intro piano also has that slight swing to some of the notes. Humanized it. And I want to big up everyone who's watching. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, could you do me a favour and press the like button? And that'll spread the stream to more people so that we can get more people involved in the chat and more people can learn how to make liquid drum and bass. Anyway, do you remember me saying before that I don't want the white noise sweep and the reverse crash at the same time? What I'm going to do is just delete that one reverse crash and then I can turn this channel back on and all the rest of them will be there. Alright, let's have a listen from the beginning and have a think about what needs doing next. Any suggestions are welcome. We've got our violin coming in. And I wonder if it'd let me do a low note with the violin. So to change an octave, all you do is hold down shift and then you can use your up and down arrows. For example, this is F3. If I wanted to put this note to F2, I would hold down shift, press down once, puts it down there. But this particular multi-sampled violin wouldn't allow me to have a lower note like that. So if I needed to, I could just draw for the cello instead. Should we add a cello? Why not? So let's go into instruments, and then we've got instrument rack, and then we've got orchestral. So I go to the cello section. Now, if you use cello section, then that's going to be like simulating an actual group of different people on the cello, right? But if you use cello solo, it's just one. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a guy called Kino. Kino is a orchestral drum and bass master, and I watched I don't know if it was a computer music masterclass or one of these type videos, you know, where he's explaining how he made a certain tune, and he was saying that he never uses the section ones, he always uses the solo ones, and then he sort of builds up his own orchestra. So you'd have cello solo, violin solo, you could have, what's the other one? Viola solo. So you have all these solo ones instead of using the section ones, if that makes any sense. So obviously Kino is an absolute master at orchestral drum and bass, so I will take his advice on that. So let's stick in the cello. All right. You know, I was saying it's just the first note that goes, it's up high, and I wanted it low. So as a little workaround, I could just draw in a MIDI clip. So draw in a section, Shift, Command, and M. That draws in the MIDI clip. Make sure this little headphone symbol is turned on so you can hear what you're doing. And I think we wanted an F, so let's go to F2. What was it? C sharp? I'd better have a look. So D sharp, C, C sharp. All right. Or this bit could be low as well. Right, let me change the velocities actually. So for the beginners, yeah, Tara bass. I have a MIDI keyboard, and I don't know if it's out of laziness or like I do have a kind of a lack of space on my desk, to be honest. For these streams, what I've actually got is another laptop where I'm sort of monitoring to make sure everything's still working. So I'm essentially watching my own stream, and I've got the chat there, you know? So I've got my main laptop, my secondary laptop, I've got the monitors and the screen, I've got my little cup of tea over here, and I'm starting to run out of space. But yes, I do have a MIDI keyboard, and, you know, I also, if I was going to be setting up any MIDI controller, it'd probably be the Ableton Push. But again, it's just where to put it, to be honest. Anyway, for the beginners that don't know, velocity means essentially how hard you're pressing keys, right? So if imagine a piano player, you can either slam on the keys and play really loud, or you can play quite softly. This is the data for that. So right now it goes from 1 to 127, and right now it's on 100, right? So you could say it's like 2/3 of the way up. Now, if we want our cello player to play quite quietly, what you can do is select all the notes, grab the velocities, and move them down. So let's try it on 40. 41 to be precise, and let's hear how this sounds. So right now it's just doing the exact same notes as the violin, which kind of you could say is a bit boring. So how about we do something more interesting and go. So we could go to G sharp. How about that? How about like this? Alright. Clive's saying, how about easing in the volume of each note? I totally agree. Just give me a second to sort of write the melody of it, and then we'll do something with the velocities. I could go the A sharp and then back to the C. Alright, so let's do Clive's suggestion, and we'll literally ramp up these velocities. Something like that. Alright, we'll do 21, 33, 41, we'll do 50, or 49, then we'll do 64, alright? It's a very subtle thing. It doesn't sound like it's really rising that much, but actually I'm going to bring the volume down. And I'm going to duplicate this. Actually, alright, so it's going to go down the second time. Yeah, so Tara Base is rightly pointing out that if you want to, you can grab your little pencil and you can go like this and draw in velocities. Draw, is it like that with the pencil? Or is it you just draw them like that? I've definitely done that before. Oh no, you need to highlight them all first, sorry. Press Command and A, so they're all highlighted. Then you grab your pencil and you do this. And it draws it. So let's try that. That's good, isn't it? Alright, let's go back to the beginning and hear how that's sounding. Shout out E.E. Wilson. I really appreciate you guys being here. I really appreciate the love and support. Let's turn up this room reverb. And what we could do is pan the cello to the right, because you'll notice that the violin solo is already panned to the left. In fact, I probably should put the cello over here so it's in its little family with its strings. So violin solo is panned to the left, and then cello solo is panned to the right, so then we've got this sort of stereo pair. And let's play that. Solo the instrument group so you can hear what I mean. And needless to say, later on in the tune, when the drums and bass are playing in that, the cello can come back. I like the way how the intro piano is really quiet, and it's all like, it kind of catches you by surprise when the drums and bass come in much louder. What I want to do is, you hear that last little bit where it does its little drum fill? I want to cut out the violin there. So these are the little subtle things that make a difference, right? So listen to how it sounds now. That violin note, if it's not there, it sounds a lot better. Trust me. Yeah, definitely sounds better without it. In fact, the cello could join in here. So you've got this 16 bar section and it's already got violin and violin, right? You've got violin playing the long notes and you've got the little staccato violin playing its bit with its delay on it. And then you're going to be joined by the cello as well and turn it into a little string. You've got quartet, but what's the 3-part one? Trio, I suppose. One thing you need to be careful of, let me just show you something. The cello is quite a low instrument, right? So let's have a look at our spectrum analyzer and make sure. Alright, so the fundamental is there on the lowest note, which is 175. And there is this sort of rumblings going on, but what I'm going to do is, you know what I'm going to do already? I'm going to cut out everything just below 175 hertz. So grab the EQ8, put that there. I'm going to roll off at like 150 or something. That gives it plenty of space for the fundamental above that frequency and making sure there's nothing going on below it. So here's our 3 string parts. And by the way, you see how violin solo is going downwards, right? Mainly, it goes down, down, down. You could say that the melody is traveling in a downwards direction, right? And then if we look at the cello part, it's mainly traveling in an upwards direction. Now, that's I think it's called counter melody or something like that. It's I don't know much music theory, especially not by name, but I know that this is a classic technique where you've got one instrument going down, you've got one instrument going up, and they sort of cross over like that. It's a classic technique in classical music and in all other genres of music. So I've just done a bit of counter melody there. And that's, by the way, I think that's why they call it you know, the double bass, they also call it counter bass, I think. It's because it basically, you'd usually write your bass line in the opposite direction to the main melody. The question is, should I have this crash here? So when it does this, and then it goes into, should there be a crash there? All right, let's have a vote in the chat. So the part that I'm referring to is this reverse crash here, coming and then the cello disappears, the violin disappears, and all we've got is that little tiny piano left. So that's it with nothing, with just the piano, or should it be like this with this crash? Longer, quieter crash. That's something that I never considered. This is why it's good to put it to the audience and see what everyone's saying. With nothing is my vote. Richie. Big up Richie. And I think it's Seeb Spam is saying yes, crash. Clive is saying low thud. That's a good one. Darude. Right, let's try E.E. Wilson's suggestion of a longer, quieter crash. So let's just turn this crash down and see how it sounds with a quieter crash. Yeah, it works, to be honest. All right, so what Clive is on about when he says a low thud, I think they usually refer to that as, what do they call it now? An impact. So let's have a look for an impact. Not that. This isn't the sort of thing I mean. Right, I'm not talking about these. I've definitely got them. It's explosions and stuff. I mean, this is a reggaeton folder. Don't judge me. That's in Breakbeat Paradise, you know. So perhaps I should just type in explosion if that's what I'm looking for. In fact, let's have a look. Here's one that I've actually used before. So you can hear that in a previous project, which is one that I've made on this channel, I actually had a reverse impact. So that's a pretty cool way of building up to the drop. That's kind of cool. That, but with that, maybe I could high pass, low pass it a bit. You know what I mean? That's the sort of thing I'm on about. Maybe that. Is that what you meant, Clive? It's kind of like thunder in the background. Alright, let's go from the beginning. It's very subtle, you know. In fact, most people are never even going to notice it, but it's just there, you know. To sort of signify that we're going into the new section. Right, let's go. Subtle, yeah, maybe even lower. Yeah, it fits in so well. I think the acid wind could probably do with being turned down a bit as well. You know, these are the types of things that you want it to be something that people don't even notice it's happening, you know? Subliminal. Alright, we've got our violin. Welcome, Richie. You know, I really do appreciate you guys locking in, and especially the guys that keep coming back every week. It's just like becoming a community. And by the way, What's your favorite style of music? What do you guys like, and what kind of tutorials do you want to see? Because so far on my channel I've done, let me just turn this down so I can waffle over the top of it. So on my channel so far I've done liquid drum and bass, and obviously orchestral drum and bass, which is essentially the same thing, and also like what was the other one? Atmospheric jungle, which is very similar, you know. And then I've obviously done normal jungle. I've done like lower BPM, like 140 BPM jungle. I've done dubstep. So what else do you want to see? House, classic house. I've only ever made one house tune in my life, to be honest. That's not really what I do, but I'd be open to it, you know. And I've also made a lot of Tara bass. Have you ever seen my rave one? I did breakbeat hardcore, how to make early 90s rave music. It's a fun tune as well because I sampled this girl who's like, there's this clip of people that are dancing in a field with no music on, and they're like, I'm gonna keep dancing forever, me. That was a fun tune, so check that one out. And Seeb's Fam, I don't know if I'm saying it properly, but if you want to see jungle, I've got a jungle tutorial on my channel. It's about to hit 6,000 views. I think I uploaded it around maybe November time or something like that. But I'll do more. I'll do more jungle ones because I love a bit of jungle. Yes, Seeb's Fam. Two-step grime and minimal DNB. Yeah, I've made so many grime instrumentals, actually. I used to use the machine. I don't know if you guys know about the Native Instruments machine, but when I got my machine, I just basically made loads of grime instrumentals with it. Vital tutorial. Definitely up for it. This tune's sounding nice already, actually, but let's keep going with it. One thing I'm not sure about is that where that sort of comes in with the octave, the basic bells. I was trying to be clever. So let's just put in, for a laugh, let's just put in FX and then see if see what kind of little sound effects pop up. And sorry if this is a bit tedious to just go through these, but let me know if you hear something, because you can see the numbers of them, right? So FX1. In fact, what I should probably do is play the tune so you can hear each effect with the tune. I even like FX1, to be honest. Starting off strong. Yeah, it's like we got lucky with the first one that we pressed. Let me just go through a few more. $16 works. You know what, I'm going to put the ones that I like here, and then I can choose after. What I'll do is, for now, I'll just like loop this little bit here. So much of it sounds like we're in the arcade in the late 1980s. Anyway, let's FX 5 and 11. So let's have a listen. Okay. 11. Well, they're both similar, aren't they? So it's like 5 or 11, I think. I think I might use 21 later in the tune. Anyway, let's have a go through some of these. What's this? FX1. So, needless to say, they all need turning down. They all need sorting out. Some EQing and effects and stuff. But you see that right at the beginning there's a gap. So what you want to do is hold down Command and drag sideways like that until you're actually at the beginning of the sample. And then just put it back to the line. Then you can turn it right down. And maybe move it to right at the beginning of the tune and hear how it sounds. Alright, so again, FX16. If you zoom in, you'll see it's got this gap at the beginning. Hold down Command, drag sideways to sort it out, and then put it back onto the line. And you can choose whereabouts in the tune that's going to come. So we already added an impact on bar 16, so it's not going there. And then there could be something on the drop. We can choose which one of these sounds is most appropriate for the drop. So it could be this. Nope. Could be this one. It could be this. What's this here? I think that should be something that sort of comes at the end of a bar, like maybe just before the drop. It's almost like a rewind, isn't it? So it's like, and then FX21. That's like some Prodigy style fire starter type sound. Twisted fire starter. So some of them are, to me, some of them are more appropriate at like the beginning of a bar like this. Gunshot. I started to fall to the people who've watched like a few weeks in a row. I started to fall into a bad habit of putting gunshots in every single tune. So I do need to watch that. Don't want to get typecast as some absolute gunslinger. All right, let's have a listen. So what you can do is, right, we've got our little effect. It does already sound like it's got delay on it. I've made it a bit too quiet, probably crank it up a bit, and then I'll put some reverb on it. One thing you need to know about reverb is whenever you put reverb on stuff, what it does is it kind of pushes it back in the mix. So if you think about your mix like front to back, things that are right up in your face usually you'd use drier sounds. If you want to push something to the background, you would use reverb to do that. So with that being said, what I did is I turned the effect back up so that I can then push it back with reverb. These are little things that you just learn along the way, you know. So maybe we should try the hybrid reverb this time. And inside the hybrid reverb, first of all, let me just show you that here you've got two tabs and one of them is EQ. You can put it on EQ mode and just make sure that there's no bass there. And also watch what happens when I drag the mouse up and down. See how it gets a steeper slope, and then you can drag it downwards like that. Honestly, I wish the EQ8 was like that. Yeah, Siebes fam, no worries. I saw this really old school video, I think it's from the 80s, called The Art of Mixing. And it's so old school, and everyone's got like a really baggy shirt and a mullet. But even though it's kind of so outdated stylistically, the mixing advice in that tutorial still stands up today. So I'd recommend watching it. The Art of Mixing, I think it's called. Wait a sec. Is it The Art of Mixing? That's the one, look. Even just looking at the cover of it. Look, this is a screenshot from it. Look at that. It's like some really old school computer graphics. But you've got the kick down here. Then you've got your bass. Everything's represented as a blob. You've got your hi-hat panned over here. Your snare in the middle. And it's not only you see the shadows at the bottom. That's sort of representing front to back. So you can see some stuff is more up front, and then it's like a 3D space. You know? So you've got left, right, up and down represents volume. Left to right represents panning, and then front to back represents how up close and personal things are. And then you use reverb if you want to push it back to the back of the mix. So if you guys want to learn something and have a laugh at the same time, make sure you check out The Art of Mixing. And what's the guy called? It's David something, I think. David Gibson, The Art of Mixing. Check it out. It's probably on YouTube, or you can find it if you look hard enough online. Anyway. So, the hybrid reverb has its own built-in EQ unit, and all you have to do is click this tab here, and then you can decide that you want to only EQ the upper mids or even just the very top end. I wouldn't really ever recommend just having reverb on the bass. In fact, I don't think this thing even lets you do that. You can only have a shelf or like a high pass filter. So I'm going to have it like that. And then you've got loads of different styles of reverbs, including hall, plate, spring reverb, spaces, bigger spaces, textures. All right, so this FX1, we could put it in a hall. And then once you've clicked hall, look at this. Big and clear, brass hall, digital long, all sorts of halls. The town hall long. All right, so and then some. Obviously, there's too many controls here for me to explain everything. But what I will say is that the decay, usually you're probably going to want to put it on less than 3.5 seconds, because that's a long decay. So you might want to put it down to 2 seconds or 1.5. Then you've got your size, damping, shape, bass mult. Even I don't know what half of these are. So bass multiplier, this scales the decay time of the low end on the selected algorithm's tail reverb. I've never touched that before, full disclosure, but one thing that is obviously very important is this wet and dry knob. Turn that down. So obviously putting it to 33% means that you are adding reverb to 1/3 of the signal, and then 2/3 of it's going to go through dry. And even though this sound kind of has delay on it already, you can just add some more. I usually have a sort of an order that I put the effects in, and I usually wouldn't put a delay after a reverb. It'd always be before. So just have a think about the signal flow. Do you want so a delay sort of repeats it, right? And it go whoop, 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 whoop. Do you want the sound and then a load of reverb on and then repeating that reverbed sound? Or do you want to put the delay before it, have all those repeats, and then just put reverb on the whole thing? So something, when it comes to choosing the order of the effects that you put here, always have a think about the sound and how it's going to flow through each one and what it's going to do. And if you can't visualize it in your mind, well, what you can do is just trial and error. Try it with the delay after the reverb. If it sounds crap, put the delay before the reverb. So how about like a slower delay, like whoop, 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 whoop. Ping pong. Someone in the chat one of the weeks was saying that they didn't like ping pong delay. Alright, I think the impact could come up a little bit. And actually, you know what? If I'm gonna be OCD about things, then the impact, you could say it's a type of bass, right? So maybe that should be in the bass group. Doesn't matter either way, but let's put it in there. It's kind of a bass hit. Anyway, so this is how it is now. Let's just play it through. And in fact, all of these effects can be thrown into the instruments group. Oops. So what do you think? The FX16 like sort of ricochet sound? Probably a little bit too loud. Let's just try that one more time. And one thing I could do is just, so I was saying I usually grab effects and stuff. If I'm going to be using it on loads of different channels, what you can do is you just grab it and hold down your Alt button on your keyboard and then just move it somewhere else and then let go. So as long as you've got the Alt button held down, then when you let go, you'll notice that it's still there on FX1 and it's copied it to FX16. Right, I'm going to stop waffling for a bit and just play the tune. So, a couple of questions actually. Clive said Rusko was good, Grace. So I'm guessing you mean there's the masterclass that he did from like 2008 or whatever, where he was throwing all those little different effects in. Yeah, he's a great producer, and it's just amazing to see how they were doing things back then, because even though it wasn't that long ago, but you know how it is with technology, things move on really quickly. I mean, he was using like an old school monitor, like computer monitor. People have had flat screens for years. But where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so answering some questions. So big up Seebs fam. He's saying thank you for this, it's gold. My pleasure. I'm really happy to share the information. And E.E. Wilson, it's like unlocking a chamber within a recording chamber echo reverb. So sometimes back in the 60s and that, they would literally just use a big room. Have you ever heard of like a plate reverb as well? Sometimes they literally just have this massive steel sheet, or I don't know what metal they use, but it's like a plate of metal Sometimes it's so big that they have to have it in the basement of the recording studio, and then they'll send the sound down there and then record it with a microphone, and that's how they used to get reverb. There's also spring reverb. Obviously, all of these reverb types, they're real, you know. They used to use a physical spring. And thanks to modern technology, like the hybrid reverb in Ableton Live, we don't really need to do that anymore, although maybe it's still cool to do it. I used to have a Marshall guitar amp that had a real spring reverb in it, and I wish I still had it, actually. But you know what I was just noticing? Look at the spectrum analyzer, right? Okay, now it's all good. There's no sub bass in anything. This intro shouldn't have any sub bass in anything. So sometimes it's good, obviously you're using your ears and you're listening to the music, but it's also good to just sit and watch this. Look, there's the impact. Obviously loads of sub bass in that. But why is it still there? That's kind of telling me that oh, do you know what it is? It's the ride symbol. So let's have a look. And I know you shouldn't be listening with your eyes, so to speak, but let's have a look at this ride symbol. Go back to the master. Look at that. Why is all that sub bass in a ride symbol? Unacceptable. So, what we're going to do is get the EQ8 on that ride symbol and take out everything. That's like, where is it? It was this, wasn't it? Look. So, this is a prime example because what you're really hearing of the ride symbol is like all this stuff up pretty much at 10 kilohertz. And then all of this stuff like in the sub bass region is completely unnecessary. And all it's going to do is just... Someone was asking me last week, why do you control your dynamics? Why do you have to like squash everything? And it was a good question because it's not instantly apparent why you would do that, and it's not also instantly apparent why it's even important to get rid of the sub bass out of your ride symbol. And the answer to both of those questions is basically when it comes to mastering this tune and trying to get it as loud as possible, all of these things are going to affect it. And you'll find that when you stick your tune through a limiter and then start to push it up and try to make it as loud as possible, then you're going to start to hear distortion earlier. So last time I was showing you this thing called the U-lean loudness meter. And I'm just going to quickly show you because it's right here. If I go to plugins, U-lean. So this is what it looks like. The U-lean loudness meter, and you've got this measurement called LUFS. And let me just take it off solo. And if I just turn this limiter on and crank it a bit. Now, I was saying to you guys last week that you want to try to hit -8, -7 or -6 LUFS. And right now, obviously I'm like trying to balance this with my voice on the microphone, so I'm not really able to push it up that loud. But this LUFS measurement here is like basically how loud you've managed to make it with your limiter, right? And if you don't control your dynamics, and if you don't watch how much sub bass is in things like your ride cymbals or any other instrument that's not bass or your kick, then when it comes to pushing up this limiter and trying to get your tune as loud as possible, then you will struggle and your low end will start to fart and it'll sound terrible. But if you take care to control your dynamics, EQ things so that nothing's got sub bass in except for your actual sub bass and your kick, then you'll find it easier to push it up louder. So hopefully that explains why I do it. But one thing I will say is that you do need to be careful, because when it comes to EQing your elements, it's really tempting to say, right, well, if I get rid of all the bass, then I'll be able to make it louder, right? So let's just stick an EQ on this whole instruments group and then just like roll off all of this. So you might be tempted to do that, and I did this as a beginner. But you do need to be really careful of what you're cutting out, because if you're not careful, this region here, just above 100, like for example in the 200 region, if you were putting EQ curves like this on everything, then you're kind of neglecting this area here. And even though they call that the mud area, there does need to be something there. You can't just have it empty. Otherwise, you've got bass, you've got upper mids, you've got treble, but you've got no lower mids, and you end up with this big hole in the frequency spectrum, and your track sounds weird. So what you basically need to do, and I hate using the word mindful, but you do need to be mindful of what you're EQing, and don't just EQ, because you need to really look at the frequencies. I keep going on about fundamental frequency, so let's go back to that. So which one can I use as... I was using the cello as the example. So look at the cello, right? Let me turn off this. Right, so here's the cello. The fundamental is this lowest note here. So the first note we've got, the fundamental is at 174. So this is a prime example of what I'm on about. If you went cutting everything below 250 hertz, you would actually be cutting the fundamental of the cello, which would be a terrible idea. So that's why when I came in with my cut, I did it at 150, and that means that when that first note comes, it's at 170 something, which is above my cut, so it shouldn't be affected. In fact, I probably should go a little bit lower than that and do it like there. Mindful, attentive, systematic. The vocab is getting unleashed tonight. So Seebs fam has got a question here. It says, what do you think to the first 5 seconds being a decider for whether people will listen to a tune or not, and why new songs are starting from a drop almost? What do I think? It's like impatience, basically, isn't it? Some people have a short attention span, and a lot of people blame it on stuff like TikTok or Instagram. Is that you've got everything you want right there at your fingertips, and if you don't like it, you can just swipe and you'll have something else. Me personally, if the first few seconds of a tune is a little bit boring or like not much is going on, you just skip through a bit. Skip it to like the drop, see how that is. Skip it to like 2 minutes in. One thing I will say is that people usually, if they're a DJ, they will they'll look for tunes that are easier to mix in the intro. So if we listen to the intro of this tune, so what you want is something rhythmic, right? It doesn't matter if it's a hi-hat or a ride cymbal or the full-on drums or a break or whatever. As long as there's something that you can latch onto to know the BPM of this tune, and then when you're mixing it, you can make sure it's in sync with the other tune you're playing, right? So let's listen to the first bit of my tune. It's pretty obvious you could mix that in with another tune that's already playing, right? So as long as there's something there to mix in with, which is why to this date I've probably never made a tune that just comes with a pad and no rhythmic element whatsoever, you know, because me personally, maybe it's lazy DJing, but there has been times where I'm flicking through and I'm like, not going to play that one. It just starts with a pad and you can't really hear where you are when you're mixing. So, Tara Bass is saying it's the result of capitalism. Music should never be a victim of money. Well said. To be honest with you, in this day and age, with streaming services being pretty much the way that everybody listens to music, there is no money in it. People get paid like 50p for like 1 million streams or something, so do what you want because you're not going to get any money off it anyway. Sorry, that's a very cynical thing to say. I like that ricochet at the drop. The way how artists make money these days is from touring, I've heard, so once I put my album out, maybe I'll go on tour around Europe. Yeah, Clive, me too. You know, I'm going to hit you with some philosophy now. So you know the dopamine system in your brain was originally, they call it like the rewards pathway, right? So you're supposed to get a hit of dopamine when you do something rewarding. Think about that. So make a tune, create something, get a little reward for it. But these days, if you get a like on social media, then you get some dopamine. So I know which way I would prefer to receive my dopamine. It's from creating stuff, from doing something worthwhile, and I'm not trying to preach, you know. But I did recently, if anyone ever hits me up on Instagram, just know I deleted the app from my phone over a month ago, and I don't use it anymore. Like, I was a bit of an Instagram addict, so I had to like curb my enthusiasm. Although I have to say I'm still watching loads of YouTube, so it's like I've traded one vice for another. Seeb's Farm is saying make 2 versions of the track, and one's for social media and one's for the DJs. That's definitely something that would be a good idea, and it's probably what a lot of people do. Especially for like if you're making tunes that are going to be on Reels or TikToks, then you can make a 30-second version of your tune, and then you can have the full version to give to the DJs. So I've noticed something there, and this is why it's good to just listen to it a few times. So do you remember before I was saying I'm going to cut the violin out just before the little drum roll at the end here. So let's put this onto 1 bar mode, and here this cello needs to be brought back. Just like that. Let's play it one more time. Alright, I want to show you something just while we're here. So I showed you how to make the wavetable pad last time. Now I'm going to show you another way how to make a pad, which is kind of a little bit creative. So what we need to do first of all is, you see this Rhodes channel? What I'm going to do is duplicate that channel. So we've got 2 of it. And then this one, I'm going to delete everything except for just this little loop here. What I'm going to do is right click, freeze track, and then flatten. So now what we've got is the Rhodes as audio. Now I'm going to just chop off that tail because we don't need it. Now we've got the Rhodes as audio, right? Now it's in 4 chords, and what I'm going to do is just go Command and E, Command and E, Command and E. We've chopped it into those chords, and I'm just going to rename them as 1, 2, sorry, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Now with each one, I'm going to hit reverse. And I know I could have reversed it before, so I'd only have to do it once, but I'm going the long way around. All right, so we've got now one thing you can do is do a bit of time stretching. So let me just move chords 2, 3, and 4 over there and go into chord 1. I want to change the warping mode to complex pro, no, normal complex, and then going to the end of the clip, what I'm going to do is hold down shift and drag so it's longer. So what you can do is like experiment with the different chords and find one that you like and make a pad out of it, and maybe you can make a pad out of 2 of the chords. Like for example 1 and 4 could sound like this. And once you've got that, say if you're happy with it, you can come in and EQ it. Get rid of the low end, get rid of the high end, do this little band pass type thing. Chuck loads of effects on it. Loads of reverb, chorus, delay. Now, what I should be doing is listening to the rest of the track to make sure that this actually goes along with it. So let me move this to where the violin and the cello is, and then make sure that the chords sound good with that. And needless to say, if chords 1 and 4 don't sound good, we'll do this with some of the other chords. So here's the violin solo. You know what? It could be better with 1 and 3. So let's put 3 there. Let me just compare. So we've got 1 and 3 sounding like this. Or 1 and 4 sounding like this. Yeah, 1 and 4 is better, isn't it? And by the way, hang on, let's just try that with everything. Okay, 1 and 3 is better. But anyway, what I was going to say is this is for a part of the tune where it's not actually going to go with the violins. I just wanted to make sure it actually fits in, like, chords-wise. But where it could be is somewhere totally different, e.g., you know, we've got this whole section here, but what's going to happen after this? It's going to break down. We're going to have the breakdown, right? So we need something new to come in. So we got this. And we need our ride cymbal. So get the ride cymbal, paste that there. Oh, you know what it could do? 1 3 1 4. Wait, where's 4? Have I accidentally got rid of 4 now? It's alright, I can find it again. Now it's reversed, so that's 1 2 3 and 4, so that's 4 there. Okay. And then drag it sideways and make sure this is on complex. So this should be chord 4 now. Alright, so we're doing a little pattern going 1 3 1 4. 1 3 1 4. Paste that there. Let's have a listen to how this sounds. Trial and error, you know. Got the ride. All right, let's try it with the break beat from the beginning, the filtered break. Oops. Pressed the wrong button. There we go. So that's just a little bit of extra breakdown section that you've never heard before to keep it interesting. And then probably it'll break down into that little piano again. Like this. And we probably need the reverse crash as well. So one thing I like to do, you'll notice that the reverse crash doesn't fill up a whole 8-bar or 16-bar section. So what you can do is, instead of clicking that and pressing copy, you highlight the section. So now I've got a 8-bar section highlighted, and then press copy, and then go to the line there, put the little cursor on the line like that, and then press paste. That way it'll put the reverse crash exactly where it was, you know, in the right place. So that's how you make a pad out of your reversed, chopped up Rhodes piano. I've been doing that technique for years, never spoken to anyone about it. So today's the day I'm sharing it with the world. So let's go through some amens, because I was thinking, you know, you've got to have something different on the second drop. So what about if we have it basically the same, but with the amen coming in instead? Sometimes you just need to change one thing, you know what I mean? So let's just go through some. I've got a million different amen breaks here, and some of them are good and some of them are bad, but let's just have a listen to a few of them. Crank that up a bit so you can hear it a bit better. I like this future-proof one, but you'll notice that at the beginning it's got this little boo 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 boo, and then so you have to use the second half. Not a big deal. I'll use the second half. So what I'm going to do is bring this over here, put the grid on something more appropriate like 1/8, and then I'm just going to ditch that first half, so we're just using the second half of the break. Crank it down a bit. And to be honest with you, obviously I've showed on this channel a million times how to chop up a break. But in this case, well, you remember, I don't know if you guys, for the people who are watching the other part of this, you know, beginner's guide, what I did is I just chopped it up into 1/8 notes like that. But the certain ones that were kicks and snares, like these three, I turned them down a bit. And I did that because it's all about the shuffles, you know. It's going to sound a bit weird though. Alright, let's just leave it as normal to start with and then see. So what I'll do is I'll just grab the drums from the first drop and put them with this amen and see how it's sounding. And again, if you ever do something and you think, nah, it's not working, scrap it, you know. It's worth a try though, isn't it? So I'll put that there. They're the drums from the first drop. Put it with the amen. And this is how it sounds. Alright, so then you can put that into the drums group. So you can see I've got a little break section here with the think break, the hot pants break, and now we've got the amen. I'm just going to call that amen. Turn it down. Instantly sounds good to me. Let's try with the different pitches. And also, I think I've showed this on my channel before, but for the people that don't know, I don't really like the beats algorithm, but there is one amazing thing about the beats algorithm. If you put it to beats, preserve transients, and then here there's a little the arrow goes both ways, right? Put that to the first option, which is one arrow pointing right towards a line. And then listen what happens when you turn this value down from 100%. See that? Obviously, if you take it to the extreme, it sounds ridiculous. But what you can do is sort of control some of those rides of the amen break. So on 100%, it's like very messy. I'm just going to turn this back up a bit so you can hear really what I'm doing. Right, so obviously the amen break, it has these like wild ride cymbals that are going out of control everywhere. So if you want to just tame them just a little bit. Now, I wouldn't recommend using this effect if you're using the amen break by itself. But here we've got it layered with other stuff. It might work. So let's have a listen. And then if I put it back to complex. I like it better on complex without that effect, but I just thought I'd show you because it's definitely useful. Now let's try it pitched. And I should be listening to the whole tune so I can kind of tune it to everything else. So with that being said, let me just copy all of this stuff and paste it here. So we're going to need two times all of this, but then I'm just going to cut out the last bit for that Scorpio fill. So just put the grid on one bar. And I know someone was chastising me because I should be pressing the buttons up here to change the grid. What is it? Is it Command and 2? There we go, look. So yeah, I need to get into the habit of using the shortcuts to change the grid because I'm always right clicking and going to these here. But you know, hey, big up Seebs fam, I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll let you know when we're going live again. I really do appreciate the community here. You guys are amazing. So as I was saying, keyboard shortcuts. I might make a separate video about keyboard shortcuts because there's a lot of them and I'd like to teach you a load of them. And someone said save it. Database, save it. Yeah, I will. Have I not even saved it? So that's another bad habit. I just go for like 2 hours making a tune and don't even bother pressing save. But what I was going to say, so keyboard shortcuts, there's loads of them. And I use a lot of them, but there's also, I have to hold my hands up and say, there's many keyboard shortcuts that I should be using that I'm not. Nobody's perfect, and we're always learning, you know what I mean? So, with that being said, maybe me making a video to teach you guys a load of shortcuts will help me to remember them and to learn some new ones. Anyway, for now, I always just press right-click, choose my grid size, and I just put it to one bar so that I could cut out a bar of the drums and just put the Scorpio break. And obviously, yes, Tara Bass, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. You guys, I'm going to, it's full disclosure, these are actually my first ever, what do you call them? Super chats or donations or whatever. These are the first ever ones. So, Seebs Farm and Tara Bass, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for that. You just made my night. So yeah, just wanted to cut out one bar of the drums so it's just the Scorpio break there. And I cut out one bar of the Amen break as well. So now we've got a 16 bar section and it sounds like this. And Tara Bass said, high pass the Amen break, so something that I definitely should do. So let me go to my audio effects, EQ8, put that on there, and actually I'll full screen it so we can see what was going on with the frequencies. And you can see there is a lot of sub bass in there. And I'm always so guilty of doing things in solo when Really, you should be making your EQ moves or any other moves on your tune while listening to everything, you know? And I love the way how that amen fits in. And, you know, needless to say, this is future-proof amen. It's from a tune. It's already been processed a lot, you know? So thank you to the guy who did all the work for me. And I could just chop out a 1-bar section and drop it into my tune and it's sounding perfect. Yassine, I'm with you, man. It's one of them things. You know, you want to hear better, so you solo it. But you need to be thinking about the bigger picture. So anyway, I'm going to go soon, but the last thing I'm going to do before I go is, do you remember these effects here? FX5 and FX21. So this one, I'm going to just turn off warping to start with. Yeah, the amen just fitted in so well. And I tried it pitched up, but I decided that it was sounding best just as is. So maybe that could go after, remember we made the new pad out of the reversed bit here. So was it FX5? Could put it there. Perhaps warping should be on. And then delay, you know. I'm a sucker for some delay, what can I say? So, good question. What am I looking for when I was turning warping off? Well, so, to be honest with you, for all of these FX samples so far, I've been turning the warping off. So that's like the default state. And the reason why is because these audio clips sound better when they're not warped, you know? If you turn off warping, then you just get the audio as is straight from the sample pack. So I turned off warping just to try and make it sound better. Then I realised, because this particular sample is a rhythmic one that's got these hits going, then I thought, well, it's going to have to be in time with the project, right? So I turned warping back on, and then I was moving these warp markers and look at the lines. But the reason why I've done it so that every hit comes after the line is because this is supposed to sound like a reversed, like someone's doing a wheel up, you know, like a rewind. And when you have a rewind, the hits, instead of coming on the line, they come just after the line, like. So hopefully that answers your question. Hopefully it will sound a bit like a rewind. So real quick, I'm going to add a reverb. And let's have a listen. So that's pretty much fitting in with everything. And what I'll do is I'll just also, a bit of a recurring theme, but I'm going to put an EQ8 there and make sure that it's got no sub bass in it. you know. And then there was one more little FX thing that I added in, which is this one. This was our Twisted Fire Starter. I'm not sure if this one's I can make this fit. Let's have a listen. So anyway, the way how on drop 1, what we have is the brakes are alternating. Think brake, hot pants, think brake, hot pants. So now we've added the amen in drop 2, and we have to think, no pun intended, about the order of these brakes and what we're going to do. So it'll be amen something. Do we want to do amen hot pants, amen hot pants? Or do we want to use all 3? So it could amen hot pants, think, you know, something like that. Either way, it'll sound good because we know that all 3 of these brakes sound good with this, so we can feel free to put whichever one. So, you know, here's the amen. And then we get our little Scorpio, and then into the hot pants brake. $16 bars of that. Yeah. Now my favourite singer to work with used to live here in Barcelona, but she moved back to England and she lives in Devon. Oops, what's that doing there? Right, so let's try that there. It's not even that bad. Not even that bad on pitch 0. Perhaps it just needs a load of reverb on it. So as I was saying before, sometimes I just like to grab an effect from one track, hold down Alt, drag it to the other one, and quickly steal it. So now we've got reverb on FX21. Could crank up the wet and dry. Decay. Take out some sub bass. Didn't even mean to put it on that curve, like this one. And again, I'm doing stuff in solo. And I could try quickly with that delay again, like this. Yeah, I mean, it works. So anyway, what we've got here, going back to the brakes, we've got amen. Not mixed, you know, so it could be the brakes could be slightly the wrong volume, but you get the picture. So there's the amen, and you've got the hot pants, and you got the think, and then what was the last one? Or should it be? No, it should be amen again, since it is basically the variation of the second drop. So bring it back, put that there, and then the last one can go to the think break to play us out, you know? So that's it. I'm going to play the whole track now, and then I'm going. All right, so here it is. And I'm going to, since I'm probably going to stop waffling now, I can crank this up a bit. So remember I said, when it comes to exporting a tune, and sort of doing some, you could call it pseudo mastering, especially if you've got a gig this weekend and you want to go and DJ. All you do is stick a limiter on there, have a look at the Ulean loudness meter, and try and get your integrated LUFS to say -8, -7, or maybe even -6. It's really difficult to get to -6 and make it still sound clean. If you can, hats off to you. what it does is, as you push up the limiter, it's going to reveal all the flaws in the tune. And I could instantly tell there that the kick and the bass are not working together properly. So what you can do about that is you can either try to use a different kick, or sort this out a bit with some EQing, or to do this side chain more. You know? Certain tunes are just harder to make loud, and this is one of them ones where, as I push it up, I'm noticing that it's starting to break up and sound a bit shit. But anyway, if you guys would be interested in watching me mix and master this tune, I can do that on another stream. But that's it. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to the two guys that sent me a little bit of money to help me out. That's Siebes Fam and Tara Bass. You guys are legends. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for clicking the like button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. And I've really enjoyed the stream. So with that being said, I will see you in the next one.